I'm involved in, there wasn't a polarising down the middle of, either side of the Australian community. Now, that's not to say that everyone is happy with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. I, for one, wouldn't do it exactly the way Julian Assange does it with WikiLeaks. And very serious accusations have been made against Julian Assange at the moment, and there are many Australians who think those accusations should be tested in a court of law. But putting aside those reservations by some Australians, there is clearly an overwhelming number of Australians who are very concerned that this government and this Prime Minister have in fact shown a contempt for the rule of law, accusing Julian Assange of breaking laws that don't even exist and having to retract the accusation under the weight of overwhelming public concern. There's a large number of Australians who are very concerned at the government's contempt for the way it showed contempt for the presumption of innocence. And remember, presumption of innocence is not a luxury, it is a fundamental human right. And it is unacceptable that anyone, and particularly unacceptable that the government of our country should show such contempt for the presumption of innocence. But I think there's much more to it. I think there are a lot of other forces at work in the national concern with what has happened to Julian Assange, or is happening to Julian Assange, and what the resentment being thrown at WikiLeaks. For example, there's the concern about what is happening to our World Wide Web. This government has shown a determination for some time now to censor the internet. And although it has backed off a little bit in recent times and has thrown the matter back at the states and territories and said, well, provide us some advice on this, it is abundantly clear that the Gillard government is determined in due course to impose mandatory filtering of the internet. Now, I think that is wrong. It is inconsistent with the nature of the internet, and it's probably technically impossible. And what we're seeing here with Julian Assange and WikiLeaks is another attempt to censor the internet, which will be to deny it its great strength. There's also a concern in the Australian community, it's almost been burned into our consciousness, about the way a succession of Australian governments have been prepared to treat Australian citizens. John has already spoken about what happened to Mandu Habib. Now, regardless of what you might think of him and what he may or may not have done, the fact that he has now been paid, presumably, a substantial compensation which must be kept secret from